Okay, so let me just bring my slides. Okay, so number one, this part of the planning, I like to tell you what's going on and what we like to do in the next few weeks. Okay, this is the plan. Okay, the first thing is that you're currently working on homework assignment number 4, which is homework assignment number 4 is really want you to get a chance to exercise on your memory part. Which I do want to say is I'm kind of slow in producing the video. Hopefully today I can make 3 extra video that you will have about the next few topics. So I'm planning not just cover from chapter 11 to 14, but also let me bring my textbook so I can show it to you what I'm talking about. So we have been looking into chapter uh, uh, 11, 12, 13, 14, and also I talk a little bit about chapter 6. So we will be moving into chapter 15 as well as chapter 16, which is talk about exception, which many of you encounter this exception clause by JSON RPC program. And we also talk about class template. And also we're going to talk about finish the pointer reference. I haven't done that. And also we talk about, in the process, we talk about lambda expression as well as the function pointer because they're kind of cluster those ideas together. Okay, so that's in terms of what we're lecturing, but I really want to give you a heads up about what's going on in homework assignment number 5. So homework assignment number 5 will be related to JSON processing. So particularly JSON processing we're going to talk about is about a mechanism used by social media is called post. So what is a post? Let me actually show you what is a post. If you go to our class website, let's see your class website. This is a post, for example. This is a post. You can see that the post has the main article and then have comments and reply, and then people have a reaction. So essentially what we did is a post, let me bring back, a post on a typical social media is the posts include the following element. Number 1 is content. And then the comments. I would just say comment and then reaction. And then of course, all this activity will have timestamp go with it. Okay, so so here is interesting thing you might or might not know is that when you use a API or web browser, such as Facebook or Twitter, that you are actually getting this information because, for example, when I refresh my Facebook window, I'm actually getting this in front of me as a message, as a comment, as a reaction that people putting there. This information is being sent to me via a big JSON. It's a JSON file that's actually putting the posts and the post ID and all the comments are actually a big JSON file that's we're receiving from the company such as a Facebook. It's a JSON. And however, this JSON file is going to be translated into objects. And such that for this class, I would say just translate into C++ classes and object. And then this object is used, then is being shown, display over here, because now it will take a look at the JSON to decide what is the content. So the content is here, and actually who actually say that. By the way, when you look at this, there's a lot of ESID there. There is a lot of ID who is actually contribute to this post, who is actually make a comment, and who is actually clicking likes. Each of this is a VSID. So essentially, we can imagine that what we like to handle in a realistic situation is a JSON representing the whole bucket of information related to this particular article and their interaction. So everything is being sent to your browser by in a JSON format. And what your program, which is a browser or the program you're going to develop, is try to parse this JSON and distribute that into a set of object and the class over here. And then what you will do is that this part, in fact, I thought about this, is I'm going to provide you the JSON. I'm going to send you a few JSON. Is basically mimicking the behavior such as our post here. But what I will do is that you're going to parse this JSON. I will use the word parse. And then you will design what is the class and what's the object for you to represent each of this. For example, you might define a class called post. You might define a class called comment. You might define a class called reaction. By the way, just to let you know, Facebook used to call it like, but then Facebook extended to have reaction. That's why the difference between like is just one, but you can actually have like 7 different reaction to that, okay? So for example, you can say, well, I'm angry about this. Oh, I'm sorry, Jason, I'm not mean to do that. Okay, how do I take it back? I will change to, oh, okay, I took it back already. All right, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so this is, you can represent each of the class. You can define this class by each of this concept, like a post, content, and comments, and reaction. And you basically, you write a program to take this JSON and map that object, map those structure in the JSON into the C++ class and object that you will have, okay? And then what you can do with this is that then you're going to do this is we're going to perform some actions on objects. So what do I mean by actions on objects? So you're going to write a very simple interface to say, hey, I want to do the following. For example, you want to add a comment to the post. Or you want to add a reaction to the post. Maybe you add a reaction to a comment, a particular comment. Okay, you can now in the object world, which means I need to specify this is C++ world, that you can actually, since you already have those class and object, and you basically can add this action to your C++ world. Okay, so now this is the final step of this. So you got the JSON, you parse it into your own class and object, and then you are going to translate that class and objects back to the JSON. Okay, you're going to provide a JSON, you're going to produce a JSON as well. So what's the difference between this JSON, which is the, I would say the old JSON, and this one is a newer JSON, is that this JSON will contain the information before you add a comment and before you put the reaction. So for example, this will be, looks like this. This doesn't have, this have, how many comments? Maybe 5 comments together. So then I'm going to, so in your C++ world, you're going to say testing for homework number 5. Okay, I'm just showing you. So after you've done this, the object world has changed because now I have a 6 comment. And now I need to reconstruct the JSON and as the result about the new action you add. So this JSON is going to be used to the next stage. If another user on Facebook want to see the post, they will receive the new JSON, which is include your new comments. Okay, so your job is a one single program. We're not going to do distributed program for this for homework 5. Homework 6, we're going to do that, but not homework 5. So you will be given one JSON, given a set of action, given the JSON and the action. Let me actually put it in red so you know what's the inputs. The red is the input. You'll be given JSON and action, and output is a newer JSON, which is, I'm going to do in purple, and such that you are going to hand in this new JSON. Okay, actually you can hang in all 3 things. You hand in the old JSON, you hand in the action, you hand in the new JSON, and then you hand in your code. So we can actually not only check your result, but we also check whether you have implemented that correctly. So for example, you can do this, you don't have to use C++ because you can use other things to do, but we force you to use C++ to do this modeling, design, and implementation. So this is actually 3 things. You have to do, number 1, you have to model this C++ object. What should be the post looks like, what should be the comment looks like, what should be the reaction looks like, such that you enable yourself to do implementation, and then you can actually implement those actions from your implementation. Okay, so that's actually homework assignment number 5. Okay, so having done this, now we're going to do, oh, why have a 2 plan here? Let me get rid of this one. Okay, so homework assignment number 6, now we're going to take in homework assignment number 6. Essentially, we're doing homework assignment number 3 plus homework assignment number 5. Okay, so what you really want to do is sending a message. What you really want to implement homework 6 is sending a message. In fact, I will call a post, since we have homework assignment number 3 right now, to a VSID. Okay, so essentially, after you have this capability to convert the JSON to your message, to your post, and then now you can actually do that is you can send a JSON to another VSID, means that is another object belong to maybe another student. So homework 6 is I was actually spent the whole time yesterday developing a prototype of homework 6 myself, and it's quite fun when you want to develop a program using all this concept we build up, and you can communicate with each other. I mean, for example, the scenario I was talking about is that, let me move this up a little bit. I just want to give you a heads up. So the scenario I was talking about is that many of you have sent email to me asking for Professor Wu, whether the server for homework 1 is down, homework for homework 2 is down, or small program is down, right? That you actually see that kind of things happening. And what you can really do is that, this is fun, I tried to do that yesterday, it was very interesting. is that I can actually directly contact the server to see if I got a lib curl connection error. And remember that chapter 15, we're going to learn about exception and exceptional handling. So what you could have done is that you try to connect to the server using your homework assignment number 3, and to see if that server is actually up. Because if its connection is refused, then it will tell you that, I'm sorry, I cannot connect to this. So you can capture that exception, and you can write your own exception. And the exception is interesting, is you produce a message, produce a JSON, which is representing a message that you want to contact the instructor, saying that, hey, the server homework 1 is actually down. So you can actually periodically do that, and then to actually communicate. So I will give you my VSID, my object, because I have a person object which will receive a JSON like this, and then I will be able to do things like that. So, oh, I know which server I need to restart, or you can send me an email message, or you can actually say, oh, we're essentially doing a watered down version of email, messaging, and checking whether services are available, and a scaled down Facebook using homework assignment number 6 among just 200 of us. Okay, so that's what we like to do, but we like to build step by step. So homework 4, you're working on that, but homework 5 is you don't need to worry about the like RPC or Unix programming. You don't need to worry about that. All you need to worry about is how do you actually design a set of classes, and then you will be given a JSON, and then you try to convert that JSON into the map, and then you perform action, and then you generate a new JSON, which will correctly reflect the discussion about the people on that particular post. Okay, so that's what we are going to do. Okay, John, you raise your hand.
Yes, I have a question for the homework 6.
Sure.
Will we have a central handler or central server to process all the message or income requests, or do we will say code by ourselves and commute among ourselves? There's no central server to process our message.
Okay, so right now, what I develop, at least right now, because I haven't released homework 6 yet, but based on the prototype I did yesterday, I basically provide API. So I have the server, and the only thing I provide is the RPC, the JSON. I call it JSON. I call it EC36B underscore homework 6.json, and that basically lay out all the interface. And essentially it's like your homework 3, but you were given the EC36B that provide you to communicate. And then you can actually communicate with we provide API, means that we, the TA and professor, we provide a server to receive this, to relate the message to for other students. And the reason we do that is that not all of our hosts are actually have a public IP address. If you're using your machine at home, you're actually behind the net. But I'm also running the other scenario, which is we're using CSIF. Using CSIF, everything is actually have a public address. Then we can allow students directly contact the student. So my current planning is provide a reference implementation for the server to allow people to write the client part to be able to develop this like a homework 6 concept. But I'm still thinking whether we should allow students also to participate in the server development as well. At least they will be given a reference implementation. So that might be homework 7, for example. Homework 7, maybe we can talk about concept like a persistent object, and fault tolerant situation, and that will be homework 7. And by the way, homework 7 will be likely to be a kind of final exam. So I'm expecting to do homework assignment 1 to 6, and 7, and maybe 7 and 8. I could have a very light 7, or 7 and 8 is the maximum I can do for this quarter. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. One more. Do you expect the students to implement something like distributed like communication protocol things? So they just got the name list from your server, and then they have the other students' IP, and then directly send message to them. So there's no private message goes through your server.
Yes, they can certainly do that unless they have unless they use CSIF machine. Because if we have one machine, or especially one side which is behind the net, then they might not be able to directly communicate with each other unless unless they do something very tricky, which is they need to punch a hole on the firewall or something like that. That could be very messy. I think for ECF 36B, we will let them experience a little bit on CSIF in the sense, because CSIF is, but then we provide a service for them to communicate. Yeah, and of course we can introduce the concept about confidentiality and privacy, so they will learn that there are options for them to do certain things. Okay. So I just want to tell you that yeah, it is quite how do I say that? I'm actually not 100% sure about exactly the split between the server side and client side for homework 6, but I think regardless, we need homework 5, because homework 5 is a building block for us to really get there. Yeah, and then homework 5, by the way, is a very interesting experiment for you, because this is exactly what web has been doing. I mean, all the web protocol is based on the transmission of JSON object, exactly like the encoding you will be receiving for homework assignment number 5. Okay. Okay. Any other question? Anybody from the student? Okay. Then I'm going to stop this one.